I mean, what was the impact like for you living as a child of a parent, your father who was an alcoholic?
You know, it's a strange, unique one for me personally. It's, you've got this iconic father who's loved and adored by millions, and then you've got a dad who is a alcoholic. Alcohol dependent is the correct term, but I'm a past point of having the correct terms. I just say what I feel, and that's, I think, the best bit of advice. We've been talking for the past few minutes about what advice do you give. The key message I try to portray at any chance I get is talking about it. Just like earlier, Ashley was talking about the period problems and how people shouldn't have stigmas about talking about this. This is exactly the same situation. I've been in a situation now, I lost my dad, in 2005. It's been many, many years. For the first few years, I struggled. When my dad was around, I didn't really know the extent of how much he drank. I went through all sorts of traumatic things when I was younger dealing with his drinking. At the time, I wish I'd known where to turn to talk to people, what answers I could have found. I dealt with all the things myself, kept it all bottled up, and that's what can destroy people. That's what can to ruin people's lives, and almost ruin mine. I almost went down that same road. There's so many different things I could talk about here, but the key factor for me, and the message I want to portray the most, is talking about it. And about in 2007, 2008, when I was just coming out of this dark place of losing my old man, I had lost him and I didn't know how to cope. I had no family around. I turned to drink and drugs to mask this pain of losing my dad, because when he was around, there was always hope. When I lost him, I lost hope, and I just turned in on myself. When I started coming out of this rut, luckily my mom was around to take care of me, and I made a documentary called Brought Up by Booze. And with this documentary, I wore my heart on my sleeve, and I traveled around the UK. I found out how many people are affected by alcohol in the family. It is so many people. And it doesn't just affect the kids, it affects the young adults, it affects the moms, the nephews, the cousins, the stepbrothers. It is a ripple effect, and it affects absolutely everybody. And some of these people the more I talk about it, at first I was really nervous to talk about what the problem is and how do you address it. But the more I started to address it as a young man who had a platform and an iconic father, and the more feedback I started to get, some people don't want to address it. A lot of lads out there are still struggling to accept it publicly. Crazy enough how many direct private messages I get from young men and young women and adults themselves saying, how do we do this and do that? I'll give you one story where I knew I was kind of on the right path, because I feel a big journey for me for however many years now is about talking about these things, because if I hadn't started talking about it, God knows where I'd be. I remember being a young man and telling my mom I didn't think I was going to make it till I was 30. It must have scared the life out of her, right? So I get direct messages quite a lot. Sometimes you really have to be careful with who you talk to, but as long as you know you're putting out the right kind of vibe for somebody to take on. So this young lad messaged me. He's probably, I think, about 10 years old. And I'm going, all right, I don't know if I can answer. He's 10 years old. And something inside me says, you got to reply to this kid.
10 years old?
Yeah, he's 10 years old. And he's on Instagram. I don't know if he should be on Instagram at 10 years old, but he is.
He's reaching out.
Yeah, and he was, exactly. So he'd seen something I'd done similar to this. And he messaged me and he says, Calum, I think what you went through was tough. Your dad's my icon. I'm thinking, bless you, you're only 10 and my dad's your icon. That's a really sweet thing to say. But Calum, my dad goes to the pub way too much and I don't know what to do. And I'm like, oh God, what do I do here? So I said to him, the best bit of advice I can give you is find somebody you like or you trust, whether a family member or somebody at school, and tell them what you think. So I forgot what happened. So a month goes by and he messages me, bless him, and he says, Calum, I went and told my dad's brother, and now my dad comes home from the pub more often. And I was like, those moments like that make you realize that although I am no guru, I've no whatever it may be, but I have a position to talk to the youth and talk to other people that might have alcohol in their family, because for me it was publicized everywhere. I lost my dad in the public. It made me lose my mind. And there's this crazy pattern, and it does. My mom's dad, my mom's mom was an alcoholic. She passed away. My dad was an alcoholic. He passed away. Came to me. Damn, I was close to going down a dark road. Luckily, I nipped it in the butt, and I nipped it in the butt because I felt there was a way for me to talk about it, because old school people don't want to talk about these things. There's a real stigma to it. So the best bit of advice I can give is to talk about these things. And sorry if I ramble on, I'm so passionate.
No, take it.
There's a charity called NACOA, National Organization of Children of Alcoholics, who you mentioned earlier. I met them when I made my documentary, and wow, the process of grieving they helped me deal with, the process of I remember sitting down with 3 other girls that were like 12 years old, and I thought my problems were bad, and I listened to their problems and I was like, wow, I'm not even on a level to some of the stuff that goes on here. And what they do is they're a helpline that's miscellaneous. A lot of people feel pressure of, oh no, I might look bad, or I don't want to upset my dad, I don't want to upset my mom. You can call NACOA. NACOA have no bias, they have no judgment. They are just there to take a call and give answers. And majority of their people all have the right answers. They're funded by donations, and that's why I do a lot of work for them. I'm about to climb Mount Blanc for them, so there's all sorts of things that are going on. But NACOA are key to the children of alcoholics, and speaking about it is a key message as well.
Callum, please, can we just give Callum a round of applause, please?